Hey everybody, welcome back to another video with me. If you are just joining me, I am Nikki. Welcome to my channel. If you are returning, thank you for coming back. Today, I'm helping you make a Christmas project. That's right. We're getting ready for Christmas for you to have a unique item to display or to give away. This is what we're doing. Yep, it's a vintage Christmas tree. For this project, I used only 2 fabrics. If you can see, which obviously we're going to go through the steps on how to make this, but I used a Christmas canary fabric for all of my fronts. And then I used a solid green. You know, whoever you're going to give it to, or, you know, whoever you're going to make it for, choose something that they like, okay? Display those fabrics here, and that would just be one unique Christmas tree to have for Christmas time to display. Okay, let's get started. So for this project, I have cut 6 Christmas trees. They look like this, okay? 6 of them. You can get the pattern down below. You can choose all 6 the same design if you want the same tree, or choose one type of fabric for the front of your tree, one type for the back. What I mean by that is front, back, okay? Once we put these together, you'll have a better understanding of how you want to select your fabric. The hardest part of this project is going to be stuffing these and getting that polyfill into the corners here. Otherwise, easy peasy. Let's do it. You should have 6 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put 2 of these, put those to the side. I'm only working with 2. Plain and simple. I'm going to do the same thing for all 3 sets. We're going to put front and back together. So 3 times. So we have 1. Then I'm going to choose this for front. I'm going to put some plaid as the other side. So that's my 2nd set. And my 3rd set, same thing. I'm going to choose this fabric with a plaid. Okay. We want to sew all around these edges. You want to leave this section open, all of this. So you're basically going to sew all the way around, a 1/4 inch seam allowance, just past the little humps here, the little curves, okay, on whatever design it is that you're choosing. I would say to this line here, but don't use the line. Right around the curves, and you're going to stop, okay, or at the curves. That's going to be the space that we stuff that polyfill underneath here. But you want to leave enough room so you can stuff it. It gets harder. You'll see as we go along, okay? But that's the space we're leaving open on every tree. Let's do it. 1/4 inch around all sides. Pin it if you need to. I'll just pin one side there so it doesn't shift. And one here. Okay. Get around to sewing these points, be sure to sew a little bit past, like a 1/4 inch. You see this where your corner is here? when you're lined up, be sure to sew 1/4 of an inch past it, because that's going to be where your seam is. Okay, so sew, keep going past that point here, and then pivot and turn. Okay, all right. All right, so at this point, what we want to do is all 3 of the sections that you have, for each one, we want to go ahead and snip right in the corners, of your branches. These sections here, we want to snip this so that it reduces the bulk inside and helps create that shape. So for each one, we're going to cut almost, as close up to the seam that you can get without obviously cutting through that stitch line. So do that for each piece, but also as you go around, snip the ends of your triangles. This is also going to reduce bulk. Okay, go ahead and do that to all of your pieces. So at this point, you should have all of those corners, though I'll show you on this one, it's easier. All of those corners should be snipped, and to reduce the bulk, and just the outer edging around your points there for the trees. Go ahead and turn them right side out. You might want to find a chopstick as well to poke out the corners when we get to that point. Okay. I originally attempted to use my fingers, but that didn't go well. So, because I have fat fingers. So you might want to, go ahead and grab a chopstick so that you get them fully pushed out. Don't poke too hard or you're gonna poke a hole. arch. Okay, did I do that for all of them? Yes, pretty much. If not, I'll adjust it. Okay. Okay, we want to layer them right now. So we want to put them on top of each other. Because this has a fabric, different fabric on each side, I would like one to go on the bottom. This Christmas tree set has the same fabric on each side. I want this to be my middle layer. Okay. And I'd like this to be my top layer. Okay. And just because I have the fabric, the plaid fabric facing up here on the bottom, I'm going to lay it the same way on the top. Okay, doesn't matter if I flip it this way, the fabric's going to be that way, and I'll have the same there. Okay. Go ahead and pin these. You want to make sure that they are lined up as much as possible. Okay, make sure that they are, okay, yep, they're lined up as much as possible. So you want to ensure, see how this one I didn't get my point all the way out? I want to get my point all the way out off my second set. There we go. There we go. That point is going to be important later. So, okay, here we go. Points. And line it up. Okay. Go ahead and pin these together. Don't pin them in the middle though. We need to sew down the middle. So pin them on the branch portions. You don't need to iron it, but if you want to for some reason, if it's going to flatten out your material, go ahead, depending on what kind of material you're using. I'm using one layer of my this is quilting cotton, and the plaid fabric underneath is 100% cotton. Okay. We want to find the middle of this, and because we're going to be sewing right down the middle. Okay, so you can do two things. One, you can fold it over, and if you do have an iron, you can go ahead and iron to find the middle, or you can do what I'm going to do. So here I am, I'm just doing this here so I can get an imprint. Again, if you have an iron, go ahead and iron that. I do have one, I'm not going to use it. I can see where my line is right here. I'm going to create a line with my ruler. If you have one of these, go ahead and mark your middle, or if you do not have one of them, go ahead and use tailor chalk to mark down your middle. Anything you have. I'm just using both methods just to show you what options are. Okay, what options you have. So find the middle. So you could either fold it over, iron it to get that crease. You could use one of these markers with your ruler, or just use the ruler and some tailor's chalk. So directly down the middle, be mindful of the color of your thread because you're going to see it. And we're sewing on top of a pretty side. Okay, I'm sewing from the bottom up. Right to the tip. Back stitching, coming forward again, and back stitching. Perfect. And now comes the toughest part of this project. Stuffing it. You may think, how is stuffing it going to be hard? Because you have to stuff polyfill into these tiny little sections, in these tiny little corners. See, this is how my tree is going to look. My tree is going to look like this. Now, let me tell you what I did think about after I stuffed this. I did think about two ways of doing this. One, stuffing it with the polyfill, or two, I thought, what about if you use like a fusible fleece, right? If you use the fusible fleece before you sew these together, right, it will give it some body, but your trees will be pretty thin. They won't be poofy like this. So you could do that. You could, you know, create, you know, just do it with fusible fleece if you wanted to. I'm not doing that in this video. I'm going to go full blown. I'm going to stuff it so that it stands up, because then you'd have to worry about obviously creating a bottom, like a mini skirt for the bottom of it, like a circular bottom, which that's also doable. Okay, but play around with it however you want to. This is just how I'm doing my tree. Okay, and it's going to look like this. All right, that middle layer, here's that front, the top layer. Here's that middle layer where both of them are the same. Okay, so you can see when the fabric goes together, the portion of the fabric that has the same on both sides, that's the middle layer here. So it just meets with its same fabric there. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and stuff it. And it's going to look pretty much like this. Roll up my sleeves a little bit. In these little corners right here, these little holes, stuff. Now, you only want to put a certain amount because you need to get it all the way to the end, all the way to the top. Okay, and this is the most challenging part of this. Just use one finger, push it down, and the goal is to stuff the top of the tree before you do the end pieces. Okay, I tried it with the first one and I was like, oh, that's definitely a strategy to get this up to the top before thinking about the sides. You see that? You cannot get it all the way to the top. You don't need to, because it's going to create this here. You can choose later on to put a wooden star on it or some other type of topper, but it doesn't need to be stuffed to the top. It just gives it that little bit of a nice design when it, you know, gets fattened out. You know, so okay. So stuff, and then put your polyfill in the corner pieces, in the star portions. Not the star, but the branch portions before you do the next branch. Okay. You're actually going to continue this for each portion. I'll show you. I'm going to bring out my big box of polyfill. And I haven't estimated how much polyfill goes inside, but maybe I'll go ahead and weigh it just so you have an idea of how much you need for each one. So when we're done, I'll go ahead and weigh it. Because if you buy a bag, I don't buy the bags of them, I buy boxes because I use them for another project. If you've seen my neck bone videos, I use the polyfill for the neck bone videos. So I have no idea how much I use. So you want to stuff it so that it's like this. You're going to leave a portion, obviously, leave room to sew. But the goal is we want to get all of the pieces stuffed with the polyfill. You can put buttons on the end of these if you would like to. You know, that's up to you if you would like to do some additional decoration. But I'm not doing it. When it's all done, it just depends on how much you want it designed with the fabric. Okay, sometimes too much is too much, and sometimes, you know, less is better. But if you would like to, you can decorate it with buttons or anything else. So go ahead and stuff each section. Okay, don't overfill it though, because the bottom we're going to be folding under in order to hand sew it. Go ahead. You can. Got to the last one, y'all. This is what we have so far. See, it's standing up. When you stuff it, it stands up by itself. So I'm doing the last one. Figured I would show you all. And this is what it looks like, you know, from the bottom. So using my handy dandy, I have a big old box of polyfill there. So we get to the last one. Yeah, these, it's able to stand by itself at this point. This is where I was talking about getting that tip filled, pushing it down there. Okay, this should be it. Yay, look at that. Fun part is now, the fun part is closing it up. So this is how it looks. All right. All right. And so now I was going to say you can attempt to machine close this. That's not going to work. I hand sewed the bottom of this right here. So to do that, you don't want to overstuff it, but all you have to do is turn these in, turn your end pieces in. Okay. You see this right here? You see that? You see this? You're going to sew all the way up. I'm going to snip with my tiny scissors. You see this right here? I'm going to snip my little straggly here just so that it doesn't get in my way when I'm sewing. Okay? I'm going to sew all the way over to the corner here. But then I'm going to continue, and I'm just going to connect, and I'm going to continue and do this one. So that's how I'm going to close this up. Go across for each of them. Fold in and across. This is what's going to take you guys time. So go ahead, and I'm entering the needle underneath the fabric. Okay. So that the knot goes inside. And now to close up. The good thing with the, with the sewing machine is that you get the color that you would like for both pieces. You would be able to choose your top portion, your top thread, and your bottom thread, not when you hand sew. So in this case, we're just going to see the red, which is okay with me, looking at the red on top of the white because it's hand sewn. So go ahead and stitch that close, stitch all of them close. And I'll show you what it looks like when I'm all done. Okay? All right. That's fine. Well, the only thing I learned from hand sewing is that I cannot be a doctor in sewing stitches. I don't want large gaps between my stitches. And so that's what's taking a little bit of time because I don't want large spaces, which is why on the sewing machine you get to choose the distance of your stitches. I usually leave mine at 0.5. I like to bring my final piece out, my final needle out, when possible, through the stitch line. You see it right there? And then, since I pull it out, then I'm just wrapping and pulling. And a little extra stitching never hurt nobody. I'm clearly not a professional. So, okay. And this is what we have. That's what we have. Look at that. We've got a Christmas tree. Doo-doo-doo-doo. If you wanted to, you can just do a simple little flat bottom, but you have to make it wider than the circle. There's really no need for it. But if you wanted one that matches, you can do that. And that's what we have. We have a Christmas tree. And stuff it as much as you want. I noticed that I stuffed this one more than I stuffed this. So I probably won't stuff this as much. You know, again, yeah. I mean, I like it, but to each his own. All right. That's all I got for you. Yeah, so if you have any questions, go ahead, put them down below. I'll see you around for the next